All right, so here's my old study hall voice. I thank you all for coming. There may be one or two more reps coming on their way, meetings, other obligations they get here. Today, the purpose of the meeting is really, as in front of you, are the 15 bills that MTA is hoping to get passed this year. Here's Angelo. Angelo, you don't have to sign in, you can just join us in front. And so we thought we would have a meeting of teachers and other educators to come and talk about your own personal stories dealing with teaching today in relation to these bills. I kind of starred 5 bills, because even though I don't want you to think you can only talk about these 5, but I starred 5 because I know they're high on our list. I starred the moratorium on high-stakes testing, which involves all of us, moratorium on charter schools, universal pre-K and mandatory full-day kindergarten, invest in higher ed, and educator seats on the Board of Elementary and Secondary Ed, which is an easy one for you guys. And that's my softball. And something that's close to my heart is the increase in the COLA for retirees, but I think I just said that. I'm trying to talk about that. I could use that extra $2.50 a year. So, and Brian in 3 years. First of all, I'd like you guys to introduce yourselves, who you are, what you represent, and go from there, and then we'll go. All right, you start.
Hi, my name is Eric Lesser. I'm the state senator for the 1st Hampden, Hampshire district. I represent I'm from Long Meadow. I represent the cities of Springfield and Chicopee, along with Belchertown, Granby, Hampden, Wilbraham, Long Meadow, East Long Meadow, and Ludlow. So I've actually interacted with a lot of you in the last few months, and we've been trying to get to all the different schools and school districts. It's been really helpful. Looking forward to working together both for this budget, which on the Senate side gets announced tomorrow, and of course through all the policy items as well. So thanks for having me. And one small thing, I'm going to have to leave a little bit early because I have to pick my wife and daughter up at the airport. So it would be bad news if the plane lands and I'm not there.
It goes to the election.
Yeah.
State Representative Gonzalez. I represent Springfield. I represent the largest district where middle school kids attend in the city of Springfield. I'm a resident of the North End, and my kids grew up in Glenwood and a couple of the other schools that are public schools in the city of Springfield.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Angelo Puppolo. Come on, good afternoon. It's early in the session here. We still got a little time left to get mad at us. Seriously, Angelo Puppolo, 12th Hampden District. It's all in the town of Wilbraham, and parts of the city of Springfield, as well as about a quarter of the town of East Long Meadow. So thank you all for being here, and I look forward to continuing our dialogue. As you know, before getting elected, I was on the city council for 10 years, so I worked with a lot of you on a number of issues, and I certainly continue to do that as your state representative. So thank you.
I'm Brian Ashe, State Representative for the 2nd Hampden District. I represent Long Meadow, East Long Meadow, Hampden, and Munson. I'm in my 4th term. Unfortunately, I also have to leave early. I have a commitment out to 3 Rivers. But if you have any tough questions or if you want to yell, my legislative aide, Robin Frechette, is here with the hardest, toughest questions you want. But thank you, David, for inviting us here. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jose Tosado. I represent the 9th Hampden District, which includes 16 acres in the Orchard, Pine Point, East Springfield, Hungry Hill, and a small section of Chicopee by the old city of Ridge. A lot of you folks know me. I'm not a new face to local politics. I served 10 years on city council, 3 years as president. I served on the school committee prior to that. I was also an adjustment counselor for a number of years. And my wife is a retired special education teacher after 30 years of teaching in the city of Springfield. So not new to the city or to the issues that involve the education of our children and the men and women who deliver on that education. Thank you.
So usually at this point I have everybody introduce themselves. I'm going to skip that today. So when you just stand up to talk, just say who you are and where you teach. If you don't stand up to talk, then you don't get to say that. I want to thank you guys for coming. MTA has worked hard on helping you get elected when you needed us. It's nicer when you were in Brian's shoes and nobody's running against you. We could ignore him for the last election. And this is the time, I guess, when we want to come back and ask you for your vote on some very key issues. So I'm going to ask anybody if they want to talk before I say anything and go from there. Any of these issues you want to talk to directly or about and how it affects you in a classroom, just raise your hand and go ahead, stand up, and could you introduce yourself before you teach?
Tom Kerner. I'm retired from Springfield Public Schools as of 2 years ago. I taught special ed and English as a second language at Forest Park Middle School. In my last year of teaching there, I was teaching college prep curriculum, modified college prep curriculum throughout my teaching there, but in the last year of teaching there, I was just teaching ESL, no longer special ed. And one of my students, I noticed, just wasn't getting it. And I said, well, is this a problem with what, there's got to be a problem with what I'm teaching, because the kid was paying attention, but he just wasn't getting it. Well, subsequently, I learned that this kid had an IQ of 48. Do you know how impaired that is? No higher order thinking skills. But I had to teach him a college prep curriculum. There is absolutely no acknowledgement of the existence of vocational kids in the early grades and in the middle grades. They are the kids who are dropping out. They are the kids who, because of persistent humiliation, persistent frustration, start acting out in 5th and 6th grade and continue acting out, even more so, in middle school. They're the kids who never make it to the vocational high school because of behavior issues that are not their fault. Persistent humiliation for the previous 5, 6, 7 years. That's why they're acting out, because there's nothing there for them. Thank you.
So we're going to kind of talk to them first, and then we'll let you guys, so we take a lot of things off our chests. Is that all right? Okay. Anybody else next? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Tillman, a retired kindergarten teacher from Springfield, and I wanted to address mandatory full-day kindergarten, which I think is a great idea, but I think a good first step would be mandatory kindergarten, period. It's very expensive to implement full-day kindergarten, and I don't know how popular that idea is going to be, but if we started just amending the current law so that instead of starting school at age 6, children must start at age 5 and go to whatever program is offered. In Springfield, it would be full-day, but in some communities, they're not often half-day. At least let's get kids mandated to have their programs. I know that Brian was kind of introduced legislation in the once before, and if you could maybe reintroduce it and just...
I filed it again this
Oh,
year.
if everybody could support it, speak to your colleagues, get them to support it. I just think it's an idea that's time to come.
Other people? Go ahead.
Brenda Dunn, I'm a teacher in Springfield at Brunton School, and I'm a resident of Munson. But anyway, I want to tell you, like a couple weeks ago, I had the greatest week because I actually got to teach like the whole week. So I taught, and the kids created PowerPoints with the work, work that we shared, and they did lots of work, and it was really fulfilling. But that week is one of the few times that I've been able to teach, like every day, what the kids need to know, because most of the time we prepare for the tests that we're taking. And I don't, probably everybody in this room can agree with me, that we spend unbelievable time preparing for tests, which is not authentic teaching. So I did have that week, and I'm really grateful for it. I'm hoping by the end of the year I get some more time in once these tests are over. But about the moratorium, the high stakes testing is absolutely ridiculous. I'm actually not against tests in general, but the time that we spend on testing is outrageous, and it really hurts our kids who need it more than other places. And it's now, like, it just seems like now that it's getting out into the suburbs and people are doing the opting out and things like people who actually already probably feel empowered because, you know, they already feel part of the system. So now people are sort of paying attention, but it's really hurts our kids because they need the most time on teaching. So anyway, so that's what I'm saying.
When I started teaching, when MCAS first came in, it was 4th, 8th, 10th. That was it. And now it's preschool, kindergarten, 3rd. So I mean, that's a frustration. The frustration is that I think many of us said, okay, I can deal with this 4th, 8th, and 10th, but can I deal with it every year? And you want to jump off that?
Susan Berry Central High School. Luckily for me, I am not a core teacher. For some reason, they don't think foreign language is important. I'm not sure why. But you're taking the joy out of teaching. And more importantly, you're taking the joy out of learning. And the tests all seem to be testing us instead of the students because they're going to be part of our evaluations and all this. This is not good, honest teaching. And my kids all say to me at the end of the year, I always ask them, what did you really like about my class? And what do you think needs improvement? And the one thing that I get at the end of the year is, we like this class because we can talk about other things. Because I am not constrained by these curriculum constraints and these testings, that on May 2nd I must be at this gate, on May 4th I must be here. I have the freedom to have those teachable moments. And the kids like that, and they need that. And they're requesting it, because that's what they're saying to me, it is my favorite class because of the other stuff we get to do.
We don't decide about Park or MCAS. We don't say when the tests are going to be or that the tests are going to be on.
I have a hand up here. We know that, but we also know that there's a bill asking for a moratorium, and we hopefully can get you guys to push that bill so we can see what it's like to go ahead and have education without it. Todd, you want to see it? And then Tim.
Sure. Todd Shkowski, teacher, middle school math, 7th grade in Ludlow. MTA board member for Longmeadow, East Longmeadow, Hampden, Wilbraham, Ludlow, and Palmer and Pathfinder. Those regions, districts anyway. I guess the first thing I want to ask you guys is, when you go to work, you just do everything by yourselves, right? You don't have any aides or support to help you make decisions. You don't work together to try to figure out what's happening. And that's what one of my students said the other day when I talked to her. She's like, this is just so unfair. She's like, you teach us to work together to solve problems, to find a process, and the test just says A, B, C, or D. And they're not looking at a process for us. They're not finding out what we know. They can find out that we made a calculation error. They can find out that we guessed and got the 1 out of 4 correct, or 3 out of 4 wrong. But it's not a test. These high stakes tests don't actually tell us what students are learning anymore. I think back, when MCAS started, yeah, it may have. But today, I think we're a little bit smarter than this. And to have these tests coming through saying you are this score, you are this number, and it directs where you go in life, what college you might go to, isn't fair to what some of our students can actually show us. I see it every day in my classroom, and I'm sure some of my colleagues here see it in theirs when we start talking about a process. Whether it's writing or mathematics, foreign language, shop if we have it anymore. There's a process to do something, and we're missing that today. Thank you. I do have a note that she wrote. I just summarized what she said.
Tim?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on the whole testing thing. It's a travesty what's going on in our schools. If it's not tested, it's not valued. When I started teaching in Springfield at Kennedy Junior High, we had 3 shop teachers, 3 home and career teachers, 2.5 music teachers, 2 art teachers. Today in that school, there's 1 art teacher. Those subjects are pathways for kids to learn how to read, how to write, how to do mathematics, how to do science. Every child needs a chance to shine during the day. And we're no longer educating the whole child because of this overemphasis on testing. And the tests are a crooked yardstick. Whether it's MCAS or Park, I don't care. They're criterion reference tests, a fixed target. Children in the city of Springfield and Holyoke and other gateway cities face tremendous challenges. They come to school at way different developmental levels. Not all of them, but significant numbers of them. Abject poverty, unemployment, underemployment, kids who are adjudicated in the juvenile justice system, refugees, homeless kids, kids in foster care. You haven't changed the formula for funding schools since 1993. Anybody who lives in Springfield or drives through Springfield or Holyoke, these communities have changed dramatically since 1993. Here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we hold these children to the highest standards in the nation. The problem is, we don't support the kids that face these challenges so that they can meet those standards. This is the civil rights issue of our time. And if we don't supply these kids with the support they need to meet these standards, and once again start educating the whole child, you know, the social, emotional, spiritual, behavioral, physical growth of these kids is every bit as important as the academic growth. As a matter of fact, academic growth can be meaningless or harmful without that other growth. So we need your help. You know, these crooked yardstick, criterion reference tests, they don't measure the child's growth towards the target. You hit it or you don't. Our accountability system is about shame, blame, and punish. It should be about study, learn, and support. Communities like Holyoke and Lawrence should have support. Look at what happened in Springfield. Our level 4 elementary schools were given school improvement grants, and every single one of them made tremendous progress, left level 4, and what do? Take the money away. What should they do? Give all the level 3 schools that kind of money so we can reach these kids. That's right. You know? An MCAS growth model is an oxymoron. They take every kid in the state who got the same test, no matter where they live, and compare them to those kids the next year. And then plot that stuff on a bell curve. And anybody knows anything about statistics, when you plot it on a bell curve, 40% of them are going to be considered failures in growth, no matter how much they as an individual have grown. That's not right. It's not fair to our kids. Our kids, and every kid who is living in a zip code where there is that kind of challenges that I mentioned, deserve the support necessary so they can get a quality education.
Every time I hear someone talk about art and everything and using art, my own son, I believe I'm leaving tomorrow, is to go to graduation as a graphic designer. I mean, think about what would have happened in his life if he didn't have art. You know, and think about how beautiful our life is. That's right. Brian wants to go next, and then it's our hand.
I'm Brian Litkin, President of Ludlow. We can talk about the testing and all that, that's one of the major issues, but you have to look at what it results in. Look what happened in Holyoke. Is it because of the testing, or is it because the social aspects of Holyoke have changed dramatically since the funding, and there's no sports, that's a part of it. And then we bring in some private charter company to turn around the schools. We have an opportunity to spend that by limiting the number of charter schools, licensing their teachers, and I would also argue, make them transparent. I've got town meeting tonight in Ludlow. I'm going to go there, I'll be able to look at everybody's salary, I'll be able to look at every single line item in my budget. Can you do that with any charters? Can any of you find out exactly how much each charter pays their teachers, their support staff, their board of directors? Why not? It's my money, I'm a taxpayer, funding the charter schools. That should be part of this as well. Not just licensing the teachers and limiting the numbers. How about a little transparency? You go to any of our school districts, you can see everything, every dollar that we spend. We can't see $1 what the charters get, except that gross overall number. I'm sorry, that's really unfair, and that puts the burden on the public schools that should be on all schools. Charters are public schools, they should have the same burdens and same requirements that we do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make 2 quick
Can you
comments.
introduce yourself?
My name is Connie Ryder, and I'm at Lincoln School in the North End. I'm an elementary sped teacher. I teach grades 4 and 5. And with regard to charter schools, one of the issues that I have with charter schools is they don't necessarily, and I know this is not the same, I go to the RA primary, so I know it's not the same across the country. But I know one of the issues is they don't necessarily have the same population that we have. I've had a number of students that have gone to charter schools and then they're bounced out for behavioral issues and because they don't meet their academic requirements. I know that there are some charter schools in the area that do have some sped services, but again, it is not at the same level that we're addressing. And with regard to testing, I just wanted to be sure that you're clear. It's not just a matter of high-stakes testing. In my previous life before becoming a teacher, that's all I did was testing, so I'm very familiar with neuropsych testing, psychological and vocational testing. I don't have a problem with testing necessarily, but the issue is what we're dealing with isn't just what the kids are getting. It's not that one day that you're doing any test, but for instance, in my school, for the ELA alone, we prepped for 8 weeks beforehand. They had their core math and everything else for the rest of the day was ELA prep. And we also have on top of that, they're still taking their unit tests and they're still taking their ANET test, which is a quarterly test, which is harder than MCAT. And for every one of those tests, A, you're prepping for it, and then B, once you take your test and you do your data analysis, then you're reteaching everything to the students. So it's not just that one-shot deal, it's the prep ahead of time and then reteaching everything. The other issue with testing is with special ed, but this is also true in the general ed classrooms as well. They have many students that are not yet identified because, of course, you get down in the head if you have too many sped kids in your school. But they do have many students that are reading a year or two or performing a year or two below grade level. They are not yet identified, or because they're dealing with all these socioeconomic, emotional, and behavioral issues that are interfering, the white noise interfering with their learning. So, and they don't have the support, but even